Well, hello there, family. You're listening to Fired Up Freedom with Steve Ryan. Fired Up Freedom. All right. Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources. I like to keep things simple. And first of all, why even talk about this topic? This topic is not just for people who don't have a budget. This is also for people who have a budget, who's maybe spending money on ads or Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever else. This may give you some more ideas of what you can do. This topic came about because there was about 3 people who sent me some messages about this after some of our other spaces. And they said, "Hey, Steve, I have this thing that I'm doing, but I don't have the budget. What do you suggest I do? What's some suggestions?" So in my mind, instead of having conversations one-on-one with each one about this is what I think you should do, I'd rather have this publicly so that this can be some good information for people who may need it. All right. So this is where this came about. But this is a great topic because if you have a product, or even if you don't have a product or something you're doing, if you're just trying to build your social media presence, whatever you're trying to do, this information that I'm about to go over will be very, very helpful for you. All right. So now just FYI, it's nothing wrong with people who pay for ads and things like that. I think it's a great thing when you're exposing your brand and things to a bigger audience. That's not a bad thing. I mean, look at McDonald's, look at, all these other things. When people know who you are, they trust you more. Besides, your brand is your reputation. All right. So another reason for today's topic is I don't believe in excuses. And if you have something that you really want to do, or something that you're good at, something that you want to get out to the world, and let's say you don't have the money or resources to do it right now, today, that does not have to be an excuse to stop you. So the purpose of this is to eliminate excuses. All right. Now, I like to break this into 3s. I call it ABC, and this is going to be awesome. A is for audience, B is for branding, C is for collaborate. And I'm going to go over each one of these. And by the time that I'm done, you're going to walk away, whether you are knowledgeable about this topic or not, you're guaranteed most of you will walk away with something today, some kind of idea. It may spurn another idea. It may make you think of something that maybe you knew before, and this is a reminder. So that would be great too. But again, ABC, those are the 3 acronyms that I'm using today to talk about how do you market with no money? Audience, branding, and collaborate. All right. So before I dive into this, I want to talk about what has been my experience and why can I come and share about this topic specifically? Well, I came from a poor background. I didn't start off with money and things like that. It was a very, very, not just poor financially, but poor mindset wise. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my family. They're great. I mean, my parents were awesome. I couldn't ask for a better set of parents. But they weren't exposed to innovation and business moving forward. And, it was more of, go to college, get a job, get a 9-to-5. Nothing wrong with that. Anybody who's doing that is great. But that was not the path that my gut told me to take. So I had to start off with nothing. And even as a teenager, I was just trying to research and discover, what can I do? Like, I didn't know anything. I didn't really know who to network with or what to do or how to go about anything. So I got very, very intrigued with stocks and real estate. Those were 2 big things for me when I was a teenager that I wanted to learn about. And when I turned 18 and things, I was out of high school and all that. And that was my first time experiencing like workshops and learning and networking and getting to meet people. It opened up my eyes to a whole new world. It opened up my mind. And I started to see like, wow, there's this whole other world out there. Now I did have some money that I was saving through high school. I did have jobs and things like that I did, and I did start college. All that was great. But I still didn't have the resources and the money to do what I wanted to do in my life. My goal was to build passive income, which I did, but to build passive income to the point where I don't have to worry about my bills. I don't have to worry about my day-to-day living because I saw the struggles that my family went through, and I wanted to be able to do things that I enjoy doing, which I've done. And that's why I'm now here passing this information along for whoever else need it. So I've been in that position with no money. I've been in that position with trying to find a way to make things work. And I had to try different things and learn different things to make it work. So part of what I'm sharing today is when I look back at my life and I look back at those times where I didn't have the budget to market, where I didn't have the budget to do things, how did I make things work out for myself? What did I do? It doesn't matter what technology was not there before that's here today. It all starts with the mindset. It all starts with the action of what is going to be your approach and your strategy. So this is the angle that I'm coming from today, and it's really helped me. And now where I'm at today is I'm looking to scale up. I'm building out a team, have a team of people now. We're building out freedom. We're building out bringing legacy to the world and legacy building to the world. And that's what we're executing. So this is part of doing this is bringing awareness to this topic and subject and different things that will help people get to their freedom. It feels good to wake up every day and make your own schedule. It feels good to get to choose what you want to do. That's a very good feeling, So whatever freedom means to you, my goal is that these Hello Freedom talks and series helps you on your path to your freedom. Whether it's financial freedom, whether it's mindset freedom, whatever freedom means to you, this will help you get a step closer. All right. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the ABC. Let me just drink some tea here. All right. So we got the ABC topic. ABC, A is for audience, B is for branding, C is for collaborate. All right. So A, audience. So when you think about audience, here's the thing. Audience is exposure. Is whoever comes into what your service, your product, your brand, you as a person, even if you're just like, I just want to spend my socials, that's okay too. But your audience is exposure and people who are coming into what you're doing. So who is your target audience? Maybe some of you know, maybe some of you may not know. All right. Here's what you can do. What if you don't know who's your target audience? Some people may say, hey, Steve, I don't know who my target audience is. I don't know how to find the target audience. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I got some suggestions for you. All right. The first thing is research. And here's a little hack that you can do. Whatever industry you're in, it doesn't matter whether it's music, artistry, whatever. Or if you're just someone who just want to grow your social media, that's an industry too as well. They call it social influencing. So whatever your audience is, go and research. You can do a TikTok search or a Google search and try to find who are some people in your industry. And here's the thing that you can do. Go to their profile. Go to their social network profile, go to their TikTok, go to their Twitter, go to their Instagram, go to wherever you want to go and look at who's commenting on what they're doing. Who are their supporters? Who are their obvious supporters? You're going to know it because you will see those people leave some awesome comments. They may say, hey, you changed my life, or hey, I really love this, or you'll be able to see those comments. And what you can do is go to those people's profiles. So the people who are commenting on the people who are in your industry, go pick out some different profiles to go to. See what you can see what kind of person they are, see what they have in their bio. Maybe it might be, hey, I'm a mom, or hey, I'm a dad from Connecticut, or whatever. Different people will have different things on their profile. Now, if someone don't have something on their profile, and let's say their content is public, you can go and check out some of their content and kind of get an idea of who they are, at least what they present, who they are. And so my thing for you is go and do that with 100 different people, maybe 200 or 300. The reason I say this is you'll start to get an idea of that person's audience. Now, of course, it won't paint a full picture, but at least it gives you a starting point. So if you're someone who just flat out don't know how to even find your own audience, you don't know who would like what you're doing, that's a good start to see who's into some of these other people who are in your industry. Okay. Now this is just a beginning step. This is not the only step, but this is part of discovering who likes your messaging or who would be ideal that you can target. All right. That's one thing. Another thing is, I would say do anywhere between 100 to 500 if you can, because you need a full picture. Try different people. Find 10 different people in your industry and look at the different audiences who are commenting on their profiles. Now, another thing, what you're going to find out is that audience may not be the right fit for your audience. Maybe you have a different approach than that person. Maybe they will be a good fit. But this is a starting point to find out. Now, here's another thing that you can do. See these apps, Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, things like that. Then you see me on TikTok Live. You see me on Instagram Live. You see me on some of these other ones. You can actually go to those places, put up a topic of let's say you're a painter. I'm just throwing out a random field there. You may go on there and say, hey, looking to connect with other painters. Or do you love painters? I'm a traditional artist. I'm just throwing words out there. You can actually put that on your subject line. And even if you don't have a large following, even if you're just getting started, you don't know who you're going to attract into the room. See, my goal is to help you get started. The goal here today isn't like, oh, I'm going to know everything I need to know. It's where to get started if you don't have a place to start. And you'll start to see who you're attracting. And guess what? All these things are free. It doesn't cost you anything to create a TikTok, an Instagram, a YouTube, a Twitter, a Clubhouse account. It doesn't cost you any money. It just takes a little time. All right. Now, as I'm saying these things, it seems like, oh, Steve, that's common sense. Look, common sense is not always so common. And you'll be shocked at when someone is really trying to get something to work. It can be hard to think of every single element. So these things and some of what I'm mentioning as I'm just getting started here, it really will help in the future. All right. This is just the beginning. I'm starting from scratch. I'm starting ABC. All right. This is audience building. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I cover all my points because I went over this yesterday with myself. All right. Another thing. All right. You don't have to focus. All right. When you're on the platforms, here's another thing. You don't have to focus on all the platforms at one time. You know, some people get overwhelmed and like, oh my God, it's too many platforms. I don't want to focus on everything. That's okay. You don't have to focus on all the platforms. But guess what you can do? For any of you who are on the TikTok, you're going to see a video. It has over 500,000 views that I did where I just said, hey, I'm Steve Ryan. Here's what I do. Blah, 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 blah. You get what I mean? You can set up your profile on all the different platforms and take the time to at least do 1 or 2 videos or posts, maybe explaining to people who you are. Maybe you're someone that says, hey, you know what? I want to focus on Instagram. I don't want to focus on the other platforms. Okay, fine. But what you can do is at least post something about yourself, even if it's just one or two things on these other platforms. And you can say, hey, you know what? I hang out more on Instagram. So even though you're seeing me here, if you want to see more content released, follow me on Instagram. You see what I'm saying? Or whatever. It doesn't matter what platform it is. It could be TikTok, whatever. But at least have the welcome mat out. I call it a welcome mat. At least let people know what you're doing. Now, I personally post multiple times a day on different places, and I use technology for that. I'll get to that much later. But my point that I'm making is there's no excuse. These things are free. All right. So on your social media profile, also, you want to look at your bio. You want to look at what are you writing? What are people seeing when they first hit your profile? Use some emojis or whatever. Play around with it. Have fun. Throw a little personality in there. All right. Now, I'm just going to make this statement. These things are just my opinion. This is not a right or wrong answer. You can take from what I'm saying, cherry pick whatever resonates with you. And that's okay. Cherry pick. All right. I personally believe in being multiple places because some people are going to be more on Instagram. Some people are going to be more on TikTok. Some people are going to be more on YouTube. Some people are going to be more on Twitch. Some people just prefer some platforms over the other. So if we just take the approach of, oh, no, I'm only going to post here. I'm never going to put anything up anywhere else. You're eliminating opportunities for people to see you. All right. You're eliminating those opportunities. So it's important, especially if you don't have, whether you have a budget or not, it's important to think about your awareness, your brand. I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but I will talk about brand in just a little bit. All right. So another thing you can do, if you want to find out what's going on in your industry, what kind of, people are in your industry or what kind of things is in your industry for free, here's some resources for you. Reddit is a great place. Reddit, for those of you who don't know what Reddit is. And that's a place that you can type in the subject matter or your industry, and they have these things called subreddits, and people have discussions in them. It is a written format. That's one place you can go. There's another website called Quora, and I'm going to spell it because I know my pronunciation may not be given the right spelling. So Q as in Queen, U as in umbrella, O as in Oscar, R as in Robert, A as in Apple, but it's Quora. And it's just a question site. You can post questions. You can answer questions. You can also look for, have someone talked about your industry or your topic that you're into? Have someone talked about what you're doing? Maybe they've addressed the question that you have. You see what I mean? Now, the thing about Quora, once you post a question, it may not get answered right away, but you can set it up to alert you when someone sees it and answer it. That's another thing that you can do. Now, one other thing, Facebook groups. Now, I know, or Meta, whatever you call it these days, I know a lot of people say, oh, Facebook is right. Facebook is still active. Facebook groups are still active. It still is. If you think, for those of you who are old enough to remember MySpace, there was a point of time, there was this platform called MySpace, and everybody was into MySpace and all the corporations, and it was so important. MySpace, get your followers up MySpace. And then it jumped from MySpace to Facebook. Everybody's into Facebook. Then YouTube came out, YouTube. And then you kind of had Instagram a bit, but then TikTok came out, TikTok. And then you had your Snapchat, and then Instagram came back around. The point that I'm making is this. Platforms come and go. Popularity of platforms go up and down. One thing that's cool today may not be cool tomorrow. So when I'm discussing these concepts to you, I'm trying to make sure that you're looking at the whole picture. And this is why you can't box yourself in. And again, this is just my opinion. You can't box yourself in to one place because that will neglect your brand. That will neglect opportunities that you may get to grow your audience. You see what I mean? Because there's audience everywhere, even on Pinterest. My Pinterest profile, I looked at it yesterday. It gets like 2,000 visitors a month. And I just post like here and there, but I'm posting more frequently now, but it gets 2,000 visitors a month. You see what I'm saying? That's 2,000 extra people that wouldn't have seen something. I post on TikTok. I post on YouTube Shorts. I post on Instagram. Some of my YouTube Shorts organically get, a few thousand views within the first 24 hours. TikTok, sometimes it's hundreds, sometimes it's thousands. It just depends on what video. But my point is, these things don't cost anything but a little bit of time. It doesn't cost anything to go and post. Now, it may cost you some equipment if you're trying to upgrade or you need a phone. But my point that I'm making is, if you're here now, if you're hearing me or you're seeing me, that means you have a phone. That means you have internet service. That means you have cellular service. That means right now, if you're hearing this right now, or maybe you're using someone else's, but you have access. That's the point I'm making. That's why there's no excuse to not execute these things. All right. Another thing you can do, you can look on, there's a platform called LinkedIn. You can look on there. Look for industries and people who's in your industries. LinkedIn is one of the oldest platforms around. And a lot of times it's been underrated, but it's actually a pretty good, powerful platform. I post on LinkedIn all the time as well, too. So any of you who follow me on there, you'll see it. So, all right. So let's go to B. So for anybody who's just now tuning in, we're talking about how do you market with no money? All right. And I came up with ABC formula. A is for audience, B is for branding, C is for collaborate. I just talked about audience building. All right. And we could actually dive deeper on each one of these. But the purpose of today is to open up the surface. To open up this, to open up your thinking and awareness to this so that at least you can leave today getting started. We can do future deep dives into each one of these things at a later time. Now, B is branding. Branding, to me, here's how I see branding. It's your reputation. So when you think about Walmart or McDonald's, a lot of times you may have a certain image in your head of what they are to you. Some people love it. Some people don't love it, but you're aware of it. There's hardly anyone on this planet that haven't heard of McDonald's or that haven't heard of Walmart or that haven't heard of certain other places. Why is that? It's because they've established their brand. Now, I know it's like, well, Steve, they're companies. I'm just an individual. It doesn't matter. They had to get started somewhere. The point that I'm making is, this is why you don't want to neglect having at least a profile and at least an introductory piece of content on every platform, even if you're not leaning into that platform heavily. You see what I'm saying? Because you want the opportunity to be there for people to get exposed to who you are. Now, here's some things about brand. I'm jumping all over the place because I'm not reading my notes. I'm just kind of scanning it just to make sure I'm covering things I want to talk about. Before I begin with branding, you don't have to know all the answers today. Your messaging is going to evolve. As you start to discover who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, it's going to change and evolve. So the biggest secret to figuring out your branding message, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, my way is not the only way. This is just what I'm sharing from what I've done. All right. Is understanding your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? As you look more into why you're doing what you're doing, that is going to help your messaging and your branding, and it's going to help you evolve more. Because you're going to start to discover, why am I doing this? And once you discover why, that's going to make you want to research this and research that. And, ooh, maybe I can try this or maybe I can try that. But branding is, how are you coming across to people? So what's important to understanding your brand is pay attention to feedback. Now, I understand there's always going to be positive and negative feedback. I get it. But to some degree, there has to be a emotional detachment to not let the feedback stop you or discourage you. But when I say pay attention to feedback, is there anything that you've done that people have complimented you on? Like, wow, you're really good at doing A, B, and C. Is there something that you've done where you've affected people and you didn't know you affected them, and they told you like, wow, you really helped me when you said this, this, and this. Write those things down. Don't forget those things, because when you have moments that you get stuck, those things will help you. See, I did this without knowing I was doing it throughout my life, throughout, different, I would write down what I'm grateful for. I would write down different things. If people say, hey, Steve, you have a nice voice, that led me to doing audiobooks. That led me eventually to doing singing part of music. You see what I'm saying? My point is, knowing these things will help you along the way as you're trying to figure out your brand and your messaging. And believe it or not, even when people are negative, you can actually take that negative and turn that negative into some kind of inspiration for overcoming and doing something. Like, for example, if someone says something negative to you, like, for example, I was told before I did some audiobooks, I was told, like, some people have complimented my voice and said, oh, you have a good voice. You ever thought about doing audiobooks? I'm like, no, I haven't. This was back in like 2012. But then I heard some people like, God, your voice puts me to sleep. And they said it in a negative way, like, oh, and I'm like, well, if my voice puts you to sleep, maybe I need to do some content that will help people sleep. You get what I'm saying? My point that I'm making is, even in the negativity, there still can be something you can take from it. It doesn't have to be something that stops you. Now, if you need help on what you're doing, like to improve yourself, that's what workshops are for. That's what getting training. I've gotten a ton of vocal coaching and writing coaching and business coaching and going to masterminds and things like that. I wasn't born knowing this information. I learned it. Some things come to me naturally, but other things I learned from other people. So what do you have to offer to the world? What is your value? This is part of your brand. This is why I'm bringing it up during this section of it, because that's important. Because a lot of times, what stops people from taking on their dreams, they get discouraged, they make excuses. There's reasons, whether it's financially, emotionally, or what other people have said. There's reasons that come and stop people in their tracks. And my goal is to free anybody who's going through that, to free you from this. You don't know how close I've came to giving up different points of time. I remember my dad, rest in peace, that he would say, oh yeah, you got to get lucky. If you want to make a music career or business, well, you got to get lucky. You see what I'm saying? And he would just go to college and go be an attorney or go do. That wasn't my heart. I didn't want to do that. If I had taken that path right now, I would be miserable. I would not change one thing about the path I've taken, because I'm financially free. I can do what I want on a regular basis. I can travel when I want. And I took the time to build this in my life. And I don't want other people to give up on their dreams. I've seen so many people give up on their dreams because it seems so impossible. So the purpose of freedom, of Hello Freedom, is to help this not be impossible for you. All right. So the other thing about branding is being honest with yourself. Here's what I wrote. I said, honesty comes from being comfortable with embracing who you are. I wrote that because I didn't want to forget that line. Honesty is about being comfortable with embracing who you are, regardless of your strengths, regardless of your weaknesses. What are you good at? What are you not good at? If you're not good at something, maybe you can learn it, or maybe that might be something that someone else can help you with in the future. You see what I'm saying? Being aware of these things will help you, because as you're thinking about what value can you bring to the world, what value can you bring to other people, this is going to be important. Now, all of this will make sense. I'm going to tie all this together towards the end, and I'm almost done. So for anyone who wants to come up and contribute toward the end, just go ahead and, put in your request, and that'll be fine. Now, for anybody who just came in, I've been talking about ABC. How do you market with no money? A is audience building, B is branding, and C is collaborate. So I'm going to look at my notes for a moment to make sure I didn't miss anything about branding that I wanted to say, because I took a lot of notes about this. All right. Oh, one other thing, your brand can evolve. You don't have to worry about, I have to figure it out right now. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're open to, evolving and growing, your brand will evolve. All right. Oh, here's another thing I have to mention. All right. Even though I'm not going to talk in detail about this, I personally believe in websites. When I see people have in their profiles links to other places, they're missing out on branding opportunities. For example, anyone who's on Twitter, if you go to Twitter analytics, you can actually see how many people look at your profile. And on these other platforms, a lot of the platforms have tools like that where you can actually see your profile visits. So when people visit your profile, what is your bio saying? Do you have a link to a website? And even if you don't, oh my God, I don't have the money to build a website. Let me give you a resource. Carrd.co. CARRD.co. They have some free versions. And if you want to customize it, I saw it yesterday, $19 for the entire year. Now that was US. I don't know what that translates to into your currency if you're looking at this in a different country, but $19 for the entire year. Now I personally use Squarespace and I use WordPress for one of my sites, but Carrd.co, I've seen some of those websites. Even if you just had a one pager, some of you use Linktree, and Linktree is this thing, for those who don't know, where I'm holding up my hand for the live stream, where it'll show links to your different profiles. Well, why can't that be on your website too? Like maybe if you don't I don't have the budget to build out a website, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, just go on there and maybe do a video introducing yourself and letting people know who you are. You see what I'm saying? And maybe have a link to your profiles. These are things that you can do, and it's very inexpensive because this is part of marketing as well. So when you're going and you're interacting on other people's profiles, you're leaving comments, you're going into live streams, these are opportunities for branding and marketing, because right now, as I'm looking at Clubhouse, as I'm looking at Twitter Spaces, as I'm looking at people on Instagram and TikTok right now, I can't see the people on the other platforms. I can go and click on someone's profile right now and it'll tell me who they are. Like right now on Twitter, I'm clicking on BB's profile and it says one-on-one artist. So I clicked on her profile and that lets me know she's an artist. She's a painter. One-on-one means she's a person that likes to produce unique pieces of artwork. And she's amazing, by the way, too. So that's why it's important, in my opinion, to have some kind of website. That way, as people are clicking on it, you can see it. I use this thing called Cloudflare, and it helps with website traffic. And I looked at it recently and it had said that my website had got like 6,000 visitors in 1 week. And I hadn't been paying attention to that. And I was like, wait a minute. I need to make sure that my website is updated. Make sure I have what I need to have on there. The point that I'm making is you don't know where things are going to come from or where your traffic will come from. And having a website, a lot of times they have tools where you can see, where's your traffic coming from? Is it coming from LinkedIn? Is it coming from TikTok? Is it coming from Twitter? It will actually show you where traffic is driven from. Is it coming from someone directly searching? Is it coming from a blog that you have? That's another thing. For those who wants to do blogs, you can do blog writing from your video content or things that you want to share. And if you can't afford to have like a website, Medium.com, Medium, it's a website that's a blog website and it's absolutely free. You can post on there. So you can post your ideas. People look at these different things. Some people lean more into reading. Some people lean more into looking at videos. You can capture those different audiences. These are technology tools at your disposal, and it doesn't cost you anything but time. So, all right, let's see what else here. All right, let's move on to C. All right, because I do want to open up the floor for anyone who wants to contribute to the conversation as well. So for anybody who's tuning in, we've been talking about how to market yourself with no money. All right. And even if you have money, this is still good information. And the acronym that I came up with today was ABC: audience, branding, and collaborate. So collaborate is the last piece of this. And again, today is just like a beginning level of this. We can go much deeper on this, but trust me, it would go a lot longer than what I'm doing. Look at all this stuff I wrote. I skipped a lot of this stuff. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it in a blog. But see all these notes I wrote? I actually typed this up yesterday. All these notes. I didn't sit here and read this. All I did was just look for key pointers to make sure I'm addressing all the points. All right, so collaborate. The power of bringing value to others is extremely important. Value is so subjective. You might come and say, hey, are you having a good day or good morning? That may be value to some people because now you've brightened their day. You see what I mean? In other words, you don't have to be the smartest, greatest, most popular person in the world to bring value. Each and every person, in my opinion, has some kind of value. Each and every person have some kind of viewpoint or something that they've experienced that they can help someone else with. What's something that you do that you find easy to do that other people may see as like, wow, how did you do that? Take a note of that. If you have some kind of hobby or talent or skill that is so super easy for you, that may be an opportunity to help others with it. Rather you do it for free or rather you charge. You see what I mean? Now, another thing about that, let's say that you're good at something and you want to charge people for it. I want to bring up something that Gary Henderson brought up for his digital marketing agency when he had that, is one of the techniques that he used with his clients was they have a credit card. They would put their advertising on the credit card. And most credit cards, at least in America, I don't know how they all work in different countries, just America and Canada. But for the most part, you have a certain amount of time to pay off your credit card before you're charged interest. So what he talked about was a lot of his clients would charge the advertising on the credit card and then provide a service to people, and the payments from those services would help pay off the credit card. So essentially they were advertising for free. So taking that idea, if you're good at something and you're good at doing something and you can provide some kind of value to someone, and let's say people see that value and they're actually willing to pay you for that, you could actually use some of that if you wanted to do some paid advertising. You see what I'm saying? There's all kind of ways to skin a cat, you know? So okay, for those who are against skinning the cat, that's just a terminology. I'm not saying go out and skin a cat. So, also you can collaborate through other people's audiences as well. How can you do that? Well, leaving thoughtful comments on people's profiles, engaging with people, going into their lives and having conversations. All of these things are collaboration. Collaboration isn't just, hey, let me go find someone to do this with. I'm going to partner up with them. You're collaborating, believe it or not, when you're going and commenting and doing things like that, because not only are you providing engagement for the other person, which is value, but some people will see your comments. And as a result of that, some people may follow you. Some people may come and click on your profile to see, who are you? What are you doing? What do you have to offer? So engaging is a great way of marketing yourself for no money. It just costs you some time. You know what I mean? Now, if you have the money, that can save you some time because that will help you to reach a larger number of people. But everyone has to start from somewhere. And if you start at least building like a core community, then eventually what's going to happen is as you're helping other people and as you're bringing value to other people, those people will go out and tell other people about you. And now word of mouth, that's called word of mouth. That still works. But how do you know what your value is unless you really discover your why and unless you're willing to embrace yourself and take a chance? Take a chance. It's okay. What's the worst that can happen? No one shows up? Okay. You know, when I come and do these Hello Freedom rooms and spaces, I don't pay attention to how many people are showing up. I don't care if 0 people showed up on Clubhouse, Twitter, wherever else, because guess what I'm going to do with this content that I'm creating? It's going to be on a podcast. I'm also going to release it as a video, and I'm going to put advertising behind it to reach as many people as possible to get this message. You see what I'm saying? That's my attitude. I'm showing up because this is my duty. There's something inside of me that's calling me to do this. I get fulfillment from helping people any way I can. You see what I mean? I get help from other people, and this is my way of paying it forward. So I'm not concerned with, oh my God, 100 people showed up. Oh, this people. Sometimes a lot of people show up. Sometimes they don't. Friday, it wasn't that many people that showed up Friday, but Wednesday and Thursday was good. I consider all those days wins every single day because that information now is going to be out there. I'm audience building. See, look how I'm following the ABC. So I'm not just sitting here saying, hey, I'm holier than thou. I'm telling you what to do. No, I practice these principles and I've been doing them for a while, even when all this stuff wasn't around. It was just in other formats, but I audience build. So if you're seeing this or hearing this, whether you're live with me right now, or whether you're hearing this at another time, that's audience building. Branding, I'm branding. So a lot of you are going to click on my profile. You're going to go to my website. How do I know that? Because I can see the analytics. I can see how many, my Twitter had a few 100,000 visitors this month on my analytics. You see what I'm saying? So I know people are going from there and clicking on the website. I can see the traffic. That's branding. That's messaging. Collaborate. I collaborate with people all the time. I don't just host my own spaces and rooms. I go to other people's as well. I'll go up and talk, contribute to the conversation. When I have the time, I do leave comments on other people's postings and profiles. Even though I'm doing advertising as well too, I still personally go and leave comments and engage with people. You know, with TikTok, a lot of you have seen me. I go on to other people's lives. I'll go and support them on their live streams. And that's how my TikTok account has been growing. You see what I'm saying? So all these principles that I'm telling you, it didn't cost me anything except for just a little bit of time to post it. Now, another thing I want to mention, and then I'm ready to bring some people up. You can engage for free. Social audio apps are powerful. When the pandemic was going on, I'm going to hold up the phone here. For those who are looking at this video, this is a Twitter space. Okay, you see all these people in here? These are actual people. You see how some people have requested to come up? As soon as I hit accept request, you're going to actually hear them talk. Now, what's stopping them from creating a room of their own and saying, hey, is anyone in this industry or is anyone doing this? Nothing stops you from creating your own and seeing who you attract. And I'm going to hold up the other phone here. This is Clubhouse. See these people? You can see their profiles. This is the Clubhouse app. This is free as well. These are 2 social audio apps. LinkedIn has its own audio thing now. Like there's a person in the community. Her name is Lumna. I went to my first LinkedIn event last week and she was holding a roundtable and it was good. That's my first time using it, but it's the same concept. It's the same concept. You see? Or if you want to, lean more into other platforms, it doesn't cost you anything to go live on TikTok or to go live on Instagram or to go live on YouTube or Twitch. If you're seeing this, you're capable of doing it. Well, with the exception of TikTok, you have to have like a certain amount of followers, but that's okay. You can still get there. Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages. Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources. I do see where Teresa wrote that, what if you're not sure of anything, including what you're good at or not good at? And that's a great question. And part of that is going to come from, and this is just my opinion about it. Part of it is going to come from taking the steps. Just really not letting that stop you, and understanding that if you're not sure if you're good at it, and let's say you try it, you can learn and get better at it, or you can learn through as you're interacting with people and people are responding to you, and you can learn it over time, and you'll figure it out. I really do believe in that. We have. I see Bohedi came up, but on the Twitter Space side we have Sats Nets, and then we'll go back to Clubhouse and get Bohedi. Hey, Sats.
Hey man, first of all, everything you said since I entered this space is just bang on and timely. I think it's great. When I first came in, you were talking about feedback and the importance of it. And I have a maxim that has served me well, which is when people tell me something that is an inconvenient truth or an inconvenient fact, I listen most intently then. Um, I don't get much negative feedback, even when I want it, but I guess that some people would see that as a good thing. Um, Also, what you say about analytics, that is so important. So many people these days don't take advantage of the basic technology available and just focus their efforts where they need to be. Um, it doesn't take a lot, like you say. It just in being informed and knowing where that information is, um, knowing where to mine it, so to speak, but also how to get it efficiently and quickly. Um, and then there's um, authenticity. You know, like when it comes to brand building and self promotion. Um, Being authentic is probably the most important thing that I've found, in as much as when I am my authentic self, doors just seem to open for me. I'm not inhibited. I'm more inclined to, like, for example, come in here and talk. Whereas I might not be, and some people aren't confident enough to do that. So it's important that people put themselves out there and just get the experience under your belt. The clay pot analogy of, the clay pot experiment. Are you familiar with that?
I'm sorry, you said the
Where
what
you,
experiment?
the clay pot. Oh, it's
No, I'm
got.
familiar with that.
Okay, so this has been done in pretty much every academic institution on the planet. And you take half the group and you give them clay and you ask them to create the perfect pot. And then you take the other half and you give them the same amount of clay, but you say make as many pots as possible. And what ends up happening is the people that make as many pots as possible don't have a preconceived notion of perfection, but they still make the more perfect pot at the end of the experiment, because the people going into it with the preconceived notion of perfection try to make one perfect pot, and it never works. The results of the experiment are always the same. And yeah, it's so basically, like the previous speaker said, keep working, keep trying, keep striving, persist, persevere. And then the last thing I have to offer is about the what you were saying about platforms and LinkedIn and services like that. There's one Web3 facing service called Koji. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Unfortunately, I think the problem with it at the moment is it's invisible on a lot of analytics because it's Web3 facing. But the potential of that platform is just incredible. Any artist, no matter what their field, but especially if you're into music, and especially if you're looking into NFTs or anything like that, Koji is definitely at least worth looking into. It's a free service. I can't recommend it highly enough. Its only limitations seem to be the imagination of the users as a community and as an individual, like the way you repurpose the tools that are already available. Anyway, I just want to say big ups, mate. Like, what you're saying and what you're doing is great work, fantastic. Hope I was constructive and had something to offer there.
Absolutely. And how do you spell that Koji platform?
It's just Koji. If you look at my profile on here, you'll see there's a link in bio, which is one of its functions as a link in bio. So yeah, you'll see it as my link in bio, and if you just use that, there's options to create a profile there. So it's pretty easy to find. Yeah.
Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages.
Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of times, I like to see it as version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. And a lot of times I see people get caught up on trying to get the version 3.0 on launch. And it doesn't mean that you can't work on the quality, but this is just my opinion, it has to be a balance of moving forward versus trying to make it perfect. I personally like to let go of perfection. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean I don't like to bring good quality, but my focus is really more on moving forward and being open to learning, because a lot of times what we think might be perfect, we don't have all the tools that we need yet. We don't have all the information yet. What if we think we're going to launch product A, but we don't discover until 6 months later that people need B and C, but we centered everything around A, and now there's no room to pivot. There's no room to adjust to include B and C. So absolutely. Thank you for that.
Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages. Do you ever have moments where you feel stress, anxiety, or it's hard to sleep? Then meditation may be the perfect thing to help you. Come and join our meditation channel where there's 24 hours a day on-demand meditation music. Go to steveryan.com/meditation. That's steveryan.com/meditation. It's time to have freedom from the noise.
Hey, Craig. I see Craig came up. Hey, Craig.
Hey, really appreciate you, Steve. Just one thing I wanted to mention, and kind of resonated with what we were talking about earlier, and being able to adapt. And one of the things that I've been superbly impressed with, because I've known Steve for almost a year at this point, and it's been simply impressive, the ability for him to just be the shapeshifter he needs to be, to just continue being positive, present in what's happening right now, and then also just being able to just roll off and positive every time. And with that, it's just there is no stopping Steve, and he's going to continue making the great content and always having the great insights. And he's always available too. You can literally find him everywhere. Like he said, he literally does everything he's talking about, which is one of the coolest things. And it's impressive because I think he just like recharges every now and then. I don't think he actually sleeps. He just plugs himself in. He's got to be some sort of robot. So, Steve, thanks so much for the share. Spot on and everything you said, and I hope everybody took notes like I did. Thanks so much, Steve.
Absolutely. And as we're closing up, the way that I'm everywhere, and I'm going to talk about that in a different session. I use a lot of tools and technology. I need to tweet this out, but I have a resources page. Actually, I used to have this tools you need page, but if you go to steveryan.com, there's a link on there that says resources. And I share a lot of tools that I use. Some of them are affiliate links. Some of them are not. Like, for example, I'll give you some hints now, like Canva. Canva is free. For those of you who, when I didn't know about Canva, I had to actually paid someone to do my thumbnails and things like that, and they made it so difficult. I was like, oh my God, you know what? I don't even care about thumbnails. Forget it. But then I discovered Canva, and it was like, wow, you can literally upload a picture, or you can use some of their graphics. They have a free version and they have a pro version. The pro version gives you more upload and more options to use, but you can literally have no experience with graphic designing and create some pretty decent things. Now, it's not going to necessarily replace a person who's skilled at it. Like for example, BB. BB is our full-time freedom artist, and you can probably tell the difference between when I do a graphic and when she does a graphic. Because I can sit there and do something on Canva, and it's decent, but she comes and does something. She just has that magical touch. Like it just pops, because that's her jam. You know what I mean? But I didn't. But before BB came along, I didn't let not having a BB around stop me from posting. You see what I'm saying? She's like version 10.0, and I'm like version 1. So, you know, or if I need to get something real quick and I can't get it to her, we're in different countries, I'll just go ahead and go forward with it. And then as she gives me things, that comes up later. So in other words, it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as it's forward moving. Another tool I use is later.com. That's on the resources. This is how when I do videos, I'm able to post to Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. I'm able to post to those things. It doesn't post to YouTube. I still have to upload there, but you can schedule longer videos on YouTube, or you can upload shorts. So these are just tools, and that's like they have a $19 a month plan if you only have one profile, but if you have multiple profiles like me, they have like a $45 a month, they have a $99 a month. So it's relatively inexpensive, especially if you're just, trying to grow one profile. If you're someone who's inundated and is like, oh, I can't deal with this and that, you can even post text content, you know? Like I do think about the good mornings and good nights, but a lot of those I do ahead of time. But you know what I mean? I might do it the day before, I might do it a week before, but like I already had the good morning up earlier. I did that yesterday for today's good morning. You know what I mean? I had some thoughts of what I wanted to say and I put it out. That way I don't have to try to remember to do everything when I wake up. I could just wake up, like this morning I woke up, had my tea, I wrote a poem, and I just, got my voice, kind of warmed up, and then I came and did this. You see? But if I had to think about, oh, I have to post here, I have to post there, I have to post, I don't have to do all that. And if you don't want it to auto post, what I do is you can alert when you want a post to go up. Like my TikTok this morning that says like, what are you grateful for? I recorded that when I was at the beach, and it popped up on my phone ready to post. All I had to do was open in TikTok. I just clicked open, and it actually pasted what I wrote. And all I did was add a cover to it, and boom, I'm on to the next thing. Same thing with Instagram. So my point is there's no excuse. There's no reason of why we can't keep going forward. So all right, everyone. I have posted up our community. We have a Discord community, and in there, people chat. They say good morning. They share things. They talk about things with each other. We have different channels for different things in there. For any of you who want to come into a good community and talk to some people and chat and share and blah blah blah, I invite you to come in. The link is on the top on Clubhouse. It's also posted up on the Twitter space. For those of you who are watching live on the video, just go to steveryan.com. Look at that branding. You'll see a button that says, come join community. You click on that, it'll take you right to Discord. You see how that's branding? I'm able to just do steveryan.com, and when you click on that, you'll see steveryan.com/Discord. If I want to change my Discord link, I don't have to worry about changing it everywhere, because all I have to do is change it on my website, and boom.
Running from myself at times, I can't describe the words I try.